All right, well, welcome everyone to our first board forum. We have 5 candidates here. We will be doing this again on Monday at 11 o'clock with another 5 candidates. I'd like to thank our production company for videotaping this, and our technology person for getting our sound going on our Zoom, and thank you to Matt, who is going to be monitoring the chat in the Zoom. So if you are on the Zoom and you have any questions, please feel free to type in a question into the chat. All right, well, I would like to say welcome and introduce the first 5 board candidates that we have today. Just raise your hand and smile. And Peggie Gross, 404, Tom Mallory, 124, Mark Sanbo, 305, Sandy Smith, 122, and Jack Weidenbach, 208. So welcome candidates, and thank you for being willing to serve if you're elected. So what we're going to do today is, the first thing we're going to do is just kind of run down through the candidates and let them introduce themselves, tell a little bit about why they are interested in running for the board, and kind of a little summary about what you bring. Jack, you want to start because you're on this end?
Do you want to use that mic?
Okay. Should have thought about this a little bit.
Got to hold it really close too, Jack.
I don't think you need a whole biography here of me, but
A little closer.
I've been a resident of an association for the last 18 years now, 17 years where we lived previously in Northfield, and so you get familiar with what it's like to live in a common interest community, and it's different than living in your own house. And some people here are experiencing that for the first time, and others of us are very used to it. My interest in serving on the board is basically threefold. I've seen what happens when boards don't pay attention to things that they have a fiduciary responsibility to pay attention to, and I think we can't let that happen here. The enterprise is too big and the consequences are too big. So I look at a board in a place like this as having 3 primary functions. One is that financial or fiduciary function. The other is taking care of the property, the building, the grounds, whatever, then those are closely related. And the other is the social part. We are a community, and we need to build that community and foster people being together. But the board really, I think, primarily will be spending its time on those first 2 things. And you have committees that work on all of those areas. The other thing, I was talking to Barb yesterday, and Barb and Ed are across the hall neighbors. And Barb brought up the fact that we really need a process for getting new board members trained. And being on the board requires training and requires knowledge. You have to know what the laws are, you have to know the bylaws, you have to have very good knowledge of all the framework that we operate within. And most people don't have that because you don't have to. You know the bylaws are there online if you want, but who's going to sit and read them if they don't have to? So we need a kind of a formal method to recruit people who would be willing to do what we're doing the next time there's an election, and make sure that they've had a little bit of training and know what they're getting into if they say yes. So I guess that's it. My background, I worked in state government for 32, 33 years. I worked in the unemployment insurance program, and I was the director of that program and sometimes assistant commissioner at the Department of Employment and Economic Development before I retired. And a lot of people, a lot of money, big budgets, things like that. It's in my writings. And So I've got some experience dealing with the kinds of things that we're talking about, but so do a lot of other people. And I'm just heartened by the fact that we have so many good people running for the board. So, thank you.
I'm glad you didn't prepare. I guess the reason I'm running for the board is I think it's important for an association or cooperation that you have people who are interested in being involved. I'm impressed by what I see here. Oh, I didn't say my name, did I? I'm Mark Sandbo. I think it's important to become involved, and I've been on lots of boards, I guess too many. But it's important, as Jack just said, the responsibilities of running a cooperative like this is pretty important when you have 98 people here, or 98 units. The fiduciary responsibility, we're gonna have a pretty big budget, and it's important to be aware of that and how it gets handled and how it gets used, how it's planned for. In my previous responsibilities, I was a high school principal where we had a pretty decent budget that we had to maintain. I was also a mayor of Grand Marais, so knowing how to get people to do things is one of the big things I think that's important for all of us to know. And as Jack said, I've had experience on boards, and it's important that with the people that have experience, mentor people who are going to be on boards in the future. So I guess that's it.
Could we try something?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the owl, which is a camera that is supposed to move with speakers, and the folks that are zooming in can see and hear, it is picking up the ceiling because we're using the mic. So instead of the camera moving around, it's pointing to where it's hearing sound. Could we possibly try it without a mic? See if it works. Are you comfortable with that? Or if not, they can hear, they just
I
can't see.
would prefer
us.
a mic.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and for me personally, you guys, I have hearing loss in this ear. I really need to have you guys speak with a mic too when you're asking questions.
Yeah.
So. Right, but I know that, but
I have a gym voice, I could have.
but yes, I know that's why we have two mics, so I can use them. Yeah, good point.
Thank you. We only had a third.
Well, my name's Sandy Smith, and I'm running for the board because I really, really love this community. I just, there's not a person here that I don't like. You guys are a lot of fun. I've had a great time with all of you. I think I bring qualities that would be useful for the board. I am a good listener. I am a fairly good communicator. I know how to keep confidences, and I know how to compromise. We do have a lot of important things that we will have to decide, and I think really the main issue right now is looking at our bylaws, looking at our declaration, and making sure that, seeing if there's any amendments we want to do, seeing that if our bylaws comply with our state statutes. Right now we're governed under 308A, which is cooperative law, and then 515B, which is common interest ownership law. So there's two different statutes, and they do tend to conflict at times. So it'd be good to be familiar with those and look at our bylaws and see what we need to do to change it, if we need to change. And again, as my two gentlemen over here said, we have a fiduciary duty. There's a lot of money involved. So that's why I'm proposing that we make our interest groups committees. And we have a financial group, we have an ad hoc bylaws review group, rules and regulations committee. So, so we really need to get the community involved. So that is a good way of getting you guys involved. My background is, I was a non-traditional student, went back to college about 10 years later than most people do. Then on to med school, residency in South Dakota, and then in family practice, and then practicing for 26 years before moving back here. So that was a tough thing to do. I needed to, my team, my family, and my husband, my kids all helped me, so I know how to work as a team too. So anyway, thank you very much.
The back, people in the back were wondering if you guys could stand up when we talk.
Oh, sure.
So, thank you.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna try it without the mic, so Helen, can you hear okay? Yeah. Bob, you're okay back there? Okay. We'll give that a try, and hopefully the camera is pointing to me as opposed to the ceiling speakers. So, again, Tom Mallory, Vicki, and I moved in on January 22nd, I guess it was. And the real bottom line is we love it here. We pinch ourselves every day just in terms of how fortunate we are. One thing that has really struck me, since being here is the tremendous amount of talent that we have got in this building. I mean, I've seen that directly on the tech interest group and everything. I've seen it in other capacities. Reading the bios of the fellow candidates here, it's awesome in terms of what any or all of them can bring to the table. Believe in full disclosure, I will tell you what I'm not good at, and that would be I'm not as comfortable with the finance and accounting piece. Not so much. I can do Quicken and balance my checkbook, but fortunately there are people that have a lot of finance background. I realize the importance of the finance piece. I mean, it is huge in our community. And I do follow along, I will have input, but not necessarily my forte. In terms of what strengths I feel I might be bringing, for those of you that had a chance to look at our candidate information, had a 20-year career in the Air Force, and then after that I was in the tech industry for about 4 or 5 years, and then I shifted gears and was a teacher at a high school. So I've had a breadth of experience, and really in all of the opportunities that I've had, leadership, working together as a team, communication have been important components of really everything that I've done. And Vicki and I moved 9 times in 20 years. I tell people we couldn't get along with anybody, but it just gave us the ability to adapt and everything, and that's certainly what we're doing here, and just absolutely loving it. Above and beyond that, I mean, I have had a little bit of experience on a sub-association for an HOA, but working together is key, and communicating with you, our neighbors, is equally key. Your input is critical, and I think that is one thing, if I had a vision, going forward, is to continue to tap into the expertise that are in all the chairs out there. There are so many talents there, so how can we harness that? How can we maybe enhance areas that you might be interested in, whether it be technology or local Applewood Valley, political issues, or health and wellness? Are there resources we can bring in that the community would be interested in hearing? So that would be something that I would really love to look at as well. But you really can't go wrong. In the 5 of us here, the 5 that you'll be hearing from on Monday. So I know you're going to make a great choice, and whomever you choose, I think we are in good hands. And then obviously continuing to work with Sarah as the dudette up front in the front office. I mean, her role can't be diminished either. So just looking forward to it, whether continuing to work on committees or as a board member, either one will be great with me. So thank you.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Gross, and this is an exciting day for Applewood Point. We're one step closer to becoming a real community, a community that we are going to be able to take under all of our wings and to go forward to do with this community what we see as the best thing. My journey to Applewood Point began back in 2018 when I started researching co-ops, and was that the next step I wanted to make at my age. In 2019, I began attending the meetings that were being held at Oak Marsh Golf Course in Oakdale because I was going to go into the Applewood Point in Lake Elmo. For most of you maybe know that, but that project got scrapped. And then all of us that had already signed up for Lake Elmo were then given the opportunity to move into Apple Valley. I was born on the east side of St. Paul. I grew up on the east side of St. Paul. I lived in North St. Paul, Oakdale, Woodbury, all east side of St. Paul. I knew nothing about this area. So I spent literally 2 days driving around to see if Apple Valley was a spot for me. And I decided it was, and I'm glad that I did that because I'm really liking it here, and I'm really loving our community and all the people that are in it. So then on, I think it was November 26th, the excitement really started when we heard that HUD had closed. So now we're on to the next excitement of being able to form our own board to get into place how we want this community to run. And I say we because it's going to be all of us, with the board listening to all of you. So I come from, my last residence was in an HOA where I joined there. I built a home there in 2006. I was on the board there for 8 years. And if you read my bio, you'll see the things that I did within that HOA. The hardest thing in that board was, there was a year where there were only 2 board members, me and another gentleman. There, we allowed renters, and this other gentleman was actually a landlord. So he did not even live within the association. So I was the only board member to look over 78 units. The next year, with me going out, we ended up with 5 board members, which is what we needed. And then you can read too, what else. So I'm looking forward to the next step now, where we're going to have our annual meeting, and we'll have all voted by then. And I'm asking for your vote. I'm interested in being on the board because while I was on the last board, I was intent and very concerned about learning the bylaws. We had a declaration. We had rules and regulations, a lot of which were out of date and did not apply, and we rewrote those while I was president. I'm interested to find out what all of you want, and I hope if I'm elected to the board that you feel free to come to me, express your concerns, ask your questions. I'm very big in educating members of this community about how a co-op works, why things are done certain ways, and I'm always open to listen to you. I think listening is the biggest thing. So thank you all for listening.
Okay, from our audience, does anyone have a question that they would like to ask a candidate or all the candidates?
Thank you.
Guess what? Yeah.
All right, Marlis?
Okay. Okay, I'm Marlis Thompson. I was also on the nominating committee. So hopefully we tried to do the best we could because we had to reinvent elections. And we are amazed at the amount of talent in this building and the people who volunteered to run for the board. We thank you very much. we got the plan down, we're running the election, it's gonna be an election. However, in some of our meetings, we had wide-ranging, discussions. And most of them ended up with, as for the new board. We came up with ideas, requests, all kinds of, the new board has to get on with it. But I wanna say that they're going to have a large learning curve. This is a business, but it is a different type of business that most people have been in. They acknowledge that they need training, there is training available, because, you know, like Tom said, finance, a little different. They've got a wide range of stuff that I don't think we even considered. So please, give them time to organize, to get their get some training, so they can all, you know, start off on the same step. So I keep telling everybody I talk to, give them 6 months, folks. If you have a question, take it to the social interest group, that they can maybe funnel it to the new board members, because they are gonna make our life so much better. Thank you.
Oh, Marlis, do you not have a question?
Oh, all right. What challenges do you think we are facing?
No.
Go down the line.
Yeah. What challenges?
What challenges, do you think that we could come up against as a cooperative going forward? If any?
Well, I know there'll be challenges because there always are. And we will, you know, we'll probably face some issues as we learn as board members and the rest of us as residents. You know, we've already had one thing before we have a board. We had a rate increase. And people have questioned me, not that I had anything to do with it, but they've asked me, why a rate increase? We barely got started and we're in good financial shape. Well, you know, we all need some education as to why those things happen or why they're required. And those kind of challenges, I think, are always with us. It's communication, it's education, whatnot. You never know. We may have challenges that arise when something goes wrong with the building that's very expensive to repair. And if you have not prepared financially for that, it could be a very difficult thing. You hear horror stories where people wind up with you know, big assessments to make payments on repairs or whatever, and we don't want to be in a situation like that. So, I don't know, I think maybe keeping everybody on the same page socially, and you know, everybody's not going to be best friends, but we all need to be friendly with one another. We all need, you know, I think in my experience, everybody that I met I like, but you can't have 98 or 150 best friends. But you need to know people and be close enough so that you're not uncomfortable talking to them. And but I think it might be a challenge. You know, you never know if you get a group of people who just really think things are being run terribly, and I know that happens in some co-ops and associations. Then that can create tensions. Hopefully, a board would be well versed enough to deal with those things. I don't know. I'll think of more, but that's nothing.
Anybody else? Yep, want to get
Just real quick, I'm getting some feedback from a resident who is listening on Zoom. Could you identify who is answering the questions they still can't see because of our owl
Sorry.
problems?
That was Jack Weidenbach.
Mark Sandboat. I suppose one of the biggest challenges is going to help everybody understand what a cooperative is. We moved from Grand Marais down to here 8 years ago. We moved from our own house, which I had an outbuilding and an outside garage. We moved to a townhome association where we couldn't have anything outside of our house. Oh, we could have 3 18-inch pots for flowers. those are the kind of things that people don't quite understand. We had a person move in across the street, and she put a wagon wheel outside her front door that everybody was driving by saying, she can't do that. And I was president of the association, and I had to go across the street and talk to her, which was very difficult to do with her. She moved away, I think, about 8 months later. Those are the kind of things that I think we need as a board. I mean, we need. One of the challenges we need is to understand, as Sandy said, that the nuances of was it a 306B and whatever those things are. There's all kinds of them. And that's going to be a challenge for us. The biggest challenge is for you to trust what we are going to say and what we are going to do as a board. Other than that, getting to know everybody is a challenge. You know, I still wear my name tag.
Thank you. Sandy Smith. And yeah, I agree with these two guys too. There are gonna be challenges. I think one of the first challenges we're gonna face is organizational. How are we going to, when the board is elected, then they have to decide the officers and the terms. And then how are we going to form our committees? And what is going to be the function of the committees? The committees need charters, and they will input the board. And actually, as I like to say, the committees really do all the work. So, you know, we got kind of So committees are very, very important. And I urge you all to, you know, if you haven't been active in any of the interest groups, think about it. Think about joining committees. Education, especially for the board, whether you've been on a board before or not. This is different. Co-ops are different. I lived in a condo in Lower Town, downtown St. Paul for 8 years. And I've seen good boards and I've seen bad boards. And I've seen boards where kind of it was chaos during a meeting. Everybody spoke at once. I've seen boards where they didn't allow members to speak. So I think we have to decide how we're gonna govern, you know, and how we're going to communicate and how members are gonna communicate to us. And we need to listen to you and take your suggestions seriously. There are things that will come up that will be unexpected. We had, in my building, after I moved, thank God, they had a 20% rate adjustment. So if you think our rate adjustment is bad, theirs was horrible because they needed a new roof and they needed tuck pointing because my building, that building was built in 1905. So and because of interest rates, with construction issues, it really went up. So they had a huge assessment and some of the people are having to move because they can't afford to live there. So we need to make sure that we have adequate reserves. We need to look at how the market is, how interest rates are going up. We need to make sure that we do reserve studies every 3 to 5 years so we're adequately funded in that aspect. So rules and regs. You know, we don't really have very many rules and regs, and as a community, we need to all get along together, and that might mean that maybe you can't have a wagon wheel in front of your house, you know, and aesthetics. We wanna make sure that this building maintains its livability and that it's attractive, you know, and we need to continue to market aggressively to make sure that we have our units filled, and I can think of right now, but I'm sure there's more. Thank you.
Tom Mallory?
One of the drawbacks of going 4th and 5th, all the great ideas have already been articulated. But all the folks really hit on areas that I've certainly been thinking about as well. You know, Mark brought up the point of, you know, all of us in this room have been living in a home for 25, 30, 50 years, you know, whatever. And we've been doing things our way, right? I mean, I like to 26-inch pot in front of mine, not an 18. So I think we've done a good job adapting to that, thanks to Sarah's leadership. However, I think there are still things that could be tweaked in the building. You know, it's got to be geared towards the good of the community, the good of the cooperative, as opposed to what I may or may not want, either as a resident or as a board member or whatever. Sandy hit on the organization piece. I mean, obviously it's huge, and Marla's already said, you know, cut the board some slack, and I totally agree with that. It's going to take time, you know, to fit into those roles, to figure good organizational, you know, structure and boundaries and all those kind of things. And then there was one more. Several I think brought up policies and procedures. You know, the paperwork side, that's going to be very, very important. Again, Sarah's been doing a wonderful job guiding us with a kind of a bare bones set of, you know, policies, procedures, those kind of things. But identifying those areas that we, or the board would have to look at is important, and then putting those policies, procedures together in a way that they are clear, they make sense to folks, and then communicating them to the entire community. So I think that would be where I'm at. So, Peggy?
Peggy Gross.
Oops, a little switch there. There you go.
Peggy Gross. I think that obviously, like Sandy said, you know, our first thing is going to be deciding the officers and who's going to take what position. That obviously is going to be the very first thing that we're going to need to decide. After that, I think what we need to do is to have the board members sit down and come up with a list of priorities. I've actually started that list. If I was going to be on the board, what could I see? What is absolutely necessary to do first? And to all agree on which of those things need to come first and which ones can wait. And that's where you would all become involved, because we're gonna have to say to you, it's on our list, but it's not a priority right now. I believe that training, learning, everything there is to learn about being a board member within a co-op is very important, because what we learn is what's going to help us govern as a board, and it's also going to be what we know that we can then educate you. And if you come to us with a question, we can say, well, no, in a co-op, you can't do that, or you have to do it this way. I believe getting to know everybody is important, and to obviously the committees, getting those formed, I believe are very important.
I'm gonna throw a question out. So, and we'll start with Peggy. So the question is what motivates you? What drives you to want to do a good job and be on the board? So what motivates you to want to be on the board, and just what motivates you to do a good job?
Peggy Gross again. This all comes down to values, and my values are to be conscientious, to be honest, to be respectful. I read a quote one place which I think describes me a lot, and I'm not sure who said this, but I will work hard at work that is hard. And I believe this is going to be a hard job. We've got a lot to accomplish. I'm motivated because if I do something and I feel like I'm doing it well, that keeps me going. It makes me feel good about myself, and if I can do something that's good for the community, I'm hoping that you're feeling good too, which also motivates me.
This is Tom. What motivates me? I don't know, I probably better ask Vicki. I mean, full transparency, when I was told that I had been nominated, I was really kind of torn, because I love what we've been doing on the tech support group. And I recently, Joe passed the torch of kind of the point person for the technology group, and as a board member, I understand won't be able to do that, but in terms of, whoa, and run away, Mike, so what motivates me is I love helping people. And that's why I've gotten as involved as I have, whether it be in the tech group or the choir or the OWL, which I'm failing at miserably. But I like to be involved, and I like to help people. And I'm just like all of everybody else in this room and in the building, we're retired, okay? We prefer to just go watch the grandkids and, you know, enjoy retirement, which I think you can still do, you know, as a board member, but it obviously is a commitment that the board members, you know, are going to be making. But my main motivator is the fact that I do like to serve people, I do like to help people, and again, whether that be as a board member or in some other capacity, would make me happy as a clam.
Mic drop. Is it on?
Nope, switch
Sandy Smith. What motivates me? I had a service career for 26 years, and it does make you feel good. It does, when you're of service, when you're helping people, when you're taking care of people, it does warm your heart. But also I'm very OCD, so that's another reason running for the board. That motivates me. So, sorry. So I'm heart driven. If I can't find an answer, I know where to look for an answer, and you can ask Sarah. So I will dig deep into things, and I want to do things right. And to me, being on the board, I just want us to get off on the right foot. I want that so badly. And I want to make sure that we're all educated, that you're educated, and go out and look things up. You can find things out about boards and meetings and co-ops. You don't need us necessarily to tell you. We should have education made available to all of you, not just us. But it is so important that we know the difference between co-ops and condos and community living versus living in your own home. I've done both. But anyway, so I'm motivated because I really want us to get off on the right foot.
Mark Sandbo, I'll use my Jim voice rather than the mic. What motivates me probably is getting things done. Helping people to get things done. I know that sooner or later, all of us are going to be asking for something that needs to be done here at Applewood Point. And I'm motivated to help people to get those things done. I just like doing things. I don't like studying things until they go away. And so those kinds of things, I know that there were things, I think, and Sarah can attest to this, when this building was being built, they studied it until it went away. And we need to make sure. An example for me, and I'll use it here, those two doors back there, I can't figure out why we can't use them. I know the fire marshal says we can't use them. My question is why? Is it because they don't close automatically? Well, there's something to do to make that work if that's what we need. Those are kind of things that I like to go after. I know there are some people, I believe, on the south side of the building that would like to have some kind of shelters from the sun when it beats in their side. That's an issue we have to do, and everybody has to do the same thing. Well, if we're going to do something, let's do it the right way and get it done if that's what we want to do. So those are the kind of things that motivate me.
Jack Weidenbach here again. I don't have a gym voice, so I have to use this. Wish I had a gym voice. People have asked me why I'm running for the election for the board, and I tell them I'm not running for an election, I'm standing for election. I'm not campaigning. We have a lot of good candidates. I think I'm a good candidate, but it wouldn't break my heart if I wasn't elected and I thought the other people who were elected were. And I don't really think it's good to have board members who are engaged and are willing to work hard and are willing to learn what they don't know. But you don't really want people on the board who want to be on the board because now I've got control. That's not what you want. I guess for me personally, I know that I work hard when I've got a task, and I like to do things well, whatever it is. So I guess as to why I want to be on the board, I want us to get off on a strong footing. I want us to be in a sound financial position, and I want us to take care of the building, and I want us to engender our good social relationships. But beyond that, I mean, I don't have a personal burning desire to be on the board, but I'm willing to do it. Thank you.
Is that a
Well said, well said, Jack. Well said.
So Jack, you brought something up that, in this last year, people have talked about. And so I do have a question for the 5 candidates. Do you have any personal aspirations or a perceived conflict of interest that could be impacted by board service? Jack, you want to start?
I don't believe so. Jack Weidenbach again. I can't think of any. I know that how this works. I know if I don't like the way the door to my unit is painted, that's my issue. It's not the board's issue. It's not. You don't fix things for individual residents. You work on the whole building and the whole organization. So I've seen too many people be on boards who have an issue or a set of issues and that's all they're interested in, and that is not what we need. We can't afford to have that.
Mark Sandel again? No.
Sandy Smith, just what's good for the community.
Short is sweet, so a third no there. I really don't. I can't think of any conflicts that I might have. If I think of any though, I'll let you know. So.
We'll let you know.
Peggy girls, no, absolutely not. I'm here to serve you, to serve the community, and I want to know what you're all thinking and what you're all looking for and wanting. And whatever I hear from you, that's what I will bring to the board and say, this is what I'm hearing out in the community. Has nothing to do with what I want.
Okay, I'm gonna throw another one out for you all. So as a board, we're looking for 5 individuals, well-rounded, because we're gonna need somebody who can handle the finances and oversight, and so we're looking for a well-rounded board. So my question is, what role do you think you will play on the board, or prefer to play on the board? Or be, I guess play isn't the right word because it's not a game. But as we're looking for a president, a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. So is there a role that you would navigate to because of who you are? Just curious.
Okay, Peggy Gross. Obviously, with my background, I've been an accountant all my life. Numbers is my go-to. I'm one of those Sudoku people. I'm one of those that just likes to figure, I keep my checkbook up to date. I'm one of those numbers people. That would be my preference. However, I have served as president. I have served as vice president on different boards, and I've served on treasurer on different boards. I will do whatever the board members that are elected seem to think that I would be the best person to do that position, and I would gladly do it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Peggy. I would be happy to serve in whatever capacity as the board gets together and determines strengths and interests and those kind of things. I have been given a little bit of thought to the secretary role. I've got great handwriting, but I take good notes, I comprehend things, so that would be a role. But communication, I think I mentioned it earlier, in terms of what does better communication look like, with the community, from the board to members in all capacities. So I would see that as kind of an area as secretary, that could be explored. But bottom line, any role I would be happy with.
Sandy Smith, I would be happy with any role other than treasurer. I think Peggy would be great. But I think once the board members are elected, then they can discuss among themselves where they feel that they fit best. But I'd be fine with anything as long as it,
Not treasurer.
not treasurer. Thank you.
Me either, I'm sorry, I forgot that.
You forgot.
Okay.
Mark Sandbo, I guess I'd be willing to do any one of the board responsibilities. I think my background shows leadership type things. I was a head football coach, a head track coach. I was president of the association where I was at. I was elected mayor of Grand Marais. I think I have a lot of positive things to bring in terms of leadership. Would I be a great treasurer? No. Would I be a good secretary? Heaven forbid. I can't even read my own writing. So, but I think anything in terms of leadership, I'd be willing to serve on the board.
Jack Weidenbach, I don't have any preferred role, although I do think we have some people running for positions who are very good at financial end of things. So I would definitely defer to people like that, because if you have a CPA or whatever, then I think we need to use that expertise if they're elected. Other than that, I have no burning desire for one job more than the other.
Okay, does anybody have any questions from the audience? Bryce?
Told you I was gonna get you, Tom.
You did, you did, you did.
My question is, if each of you could let us know when you moved in here. Tom, I think you said it was late January for you and Vicki. But let us know when you moved in, how long you've been here, and how you've gotten involved in the community so far in the short time that we've all lived here. So.
Start that in.
Mark, why don't you start?
I'm Mark Sandbo, and we moved in here, I mean, it's been like we've lived here forever, ever. What did you say, Dare?
February 16th.
February 16th, that's when we moved in, a month after it was open. I've been involved with the tech committee. Every time we seem to have a meeting, I seem to gravitate to it and go to it. So I don't know if I would say I'm involved in every committee. I'm not. I would love to play golf, to play cards with the guys that come down and play cards in the morning, but I seem to find myself doing something else that I don't get to. But in terms of the social aspect of this place, I've met so many good people, so many fun people, and as I think Jack said earlier, I'm not looking at best friends, but I'm looking at friends. And it's a community of friendship, which we all have. And I know I haven't met, no, I haven't. I haven't met anybody I don't like. So, I mean, it's a great community, it's a great place to live. And, You can ask my wife, we both love it here, so.
Me?
Yeah, let's do, yeah.
So Scott and I moved in here the middle of January, about the same time you did, Tom. And, yeah, so,
January 19th.
oh, thank you. So, man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm a little worried there. What else do you know? So, I've been involved with the Building and Grounds Interest Group, and I've been to a lot of social events. I have played, not cards, but apples to apples, which is very fun. I usually attend all the meetings that are around and meet people in the hall and chat, and just as Mark said, you know, you're not all my best friends, but I consider you my friends, so. Recycling, I've done, yes, yes. Mark's lovely wife Jean and I are doing the battery recycling and the light bulb recycling, so thank you.
I think our owl is working, so I'm gonna try the mic. So, yeah, when we moved in January, obviously the unpacking boxes, getting settled in, pictures up, and everything else. But I think right away we started. Vicki and I both started looking. Okay, you know, what could we get involved with? And first off, we got in with the gang on the first floor, the Smiths, the Vicklas, really good friends, you know, that we've established, and that group of friends has certainly expanded, you know, since we've been here. We've met some just wonderful people. And, you know, the seeds were planted for the tech group, Joe, for the veterans group, David, for the choir, Thera. And so when those opportunities came up, I really jumped on it, you know, really wanted to get involved. But as far as, you know, involvement and everything since moving in, I think the tech group has been the most satisfying thing because of what has been accomplished by the group. So Royce and the Handy Gang and Lou with Soft Care and all the volunteers that are involved with that, and then the tech support piece, that was particularly heartwarming to see in a short amount of time those kind of groups coming together with the sole purpose of helping people. So that was really cool. And again, I think those kind of additional opportunities are out there for all of us. And I think it's upon the board to see, you know, are there other things that we could be doing within the building that may need to draw on the expertise of other residents. So.
Peggie Gross. So I have, from the very beginning, I've attended the meetings for marketing, buildings and grounds, and for the finance committee. And I attend all the all-members meetings. I closed on February 28th. The painters came on March 3rd. I moved in, the movers came on March 6th, and then I finally moved in on March 10th. Besides the meetings that I've attended, I belong to 2 of the book clubs here, and I belong to a book club at the Oakdale Library for the last 15 years, and they absolutely forbade me to move here unless I promised I would stay with them. So I'm in a 3rd book group in the Oakdale Library, and I attend all community events as I possibly can make it to.
Jack Weidenbach again. We closed on our unit on March 7th. We're on the east end of the building, so we were late, and we actually moved. We moved things, but we moved in with furniture on the 22nd of March. So we were kind of towards the tail end of the move-in. My main involvement with groups in the building, I guess the biggest thing is the wood shop down in the basement, because I've spent a lot of time down there. And I've met, yeah, pretty much. I've met some wonderful people down there, not only the people that are in there working, but other people who stop by. It's just so much fun. I go to 2 book clubs, I really haven't, I'm not a card player or anything like that, so I don't do that. And I'm a little bit, maybe socially awkward. It's a little hard for me to meet people. You just walk up and say, hello, I'm so-and-so. I feel awkward wearing a name tag. But, you know, beyond that, I just like living here. I like the people here. And, you know, be involved as much as I can.
Well, I think, oh, you have a question? Yes. And then this will be our last question.
One of the things the board's gonna have to deal with is conflict. That's where it'll probably end up. How have you handled conflict in your other situations on boards or leadership positions?
Sandy, why don't we start with you?
Sure. And Jill's right, there will be conflicts. And I think the first thing you have to do is find common ground. Where can you agree? And start there. And then, what are your differences? Where can you compromise? I think compromise is important. You can't always get your own way. And you have to ask yourself, is this the hill I want to die on? So I think an effective board knows how to compromise. They know what is important, what issues are things that you really need to, what you can give on and what maybe you really feel that you can't. But in the end, you're gonna have to figure out a compromise to be effective.
I totally agree with Sandy. Compromise is huge, and that is an art that is lost in our country right now, right? I mean, you know, we don't necessarily agree about everything, but you've got to hear one another out, look at the pluses and the minuses, and then at some point, the decision, you know, has got to be made. In the tech group, when we had some really tough issues, we did arm wrestling. That probably we wouldn't do that on the board, but again, yeah, the whole compromise piece, talking through issues, listening, getting all the input you can, but ultimately a decision has got to be made, and the board has that charter. So.
Peggie Gross. So where I would start, if I knew a item was going to be coming up at the board, that I knew it was going to be something that was going to be conflicting amongst the board members, I would start by going to individual members in the community and say, what do you think about this? And just see what the community as a whole thought about that item. In one of the board training classes that I attended, and in another course that I took, I learned the way to do a pros and cons list, where you sit down and you write down the pros of doing it one way, the cons of doing it one way. And then on the opposite side, you take that same thing and you do the pros of not doing that way and the cons of not doing a certain thing that way. And what I found with that is no idea got skipped over. Everything was remembered. We all knew what each other were saying. And you had it written down and you could see, and having it visual, I always found was a great help to me and the other people that I was working for. So then you've got that list, you're looking at it, you're coming up with ideas, and then you start discussing it. And then you either know what you're gonna do or you're going to make compromises. And that's a must. You just have to compromise sometime. And to remember that not everybody is right all the time.
Jack White.
Are we on? Jack Weidenbach again. I guess when it comes to conflict, I feel like I spent my whole life working through conflict, either with employees, and we had typically 600, 700, 750 people lots of structure, lots of bureaucracy, people protecting their turf. And then outside with employers, business groups, individuals who are mad about their unemployment insurance, and the individual legislators, the legislature, the governor's office. It was pretty nerve-wracking, but the only way to get through that is to know what you have to know what your bottom line is. You can't compromise just to compromise. You have to know what you can give up and what you can't. And you gotta be open to new ideas, of course. But if it was a board decision here on, say, having adequate reserve funds, and somebody didn't like the idea of having adequate reserve funds, you can't compromise on that. That's a given. It's a statutory requirement, and it's for our own well-being. So those kinds of things are, you don't negotiate. You may have conflict, but it may be an education process, but it wouldn't be a compromise necessarily. So that I guess kind of sums it up for me. You just have to know what you can, where you can, and where you can't compromise.
Compromise. We're in a cooperative, which means we have to compromise. There are things that people are going to want that we can't do, and someone's going to be angry about it. And so you have to find the common ground and remind people that we're in a cooperative. If all of that fails, you lead, you follow, or you get out of the way.
Good point.
I mean, that's, you gotta be there. And if you have an idea and you want something to be pushed through, then you take a leadership in that role. And if you can't take the leadership, then you follow along. But since we are a cooperative and we all have to live here together, we can't have one group of people deciding something for someone else. We have to be together on it. And that's what your board is going to be designed to do, is to cooperate and get people to follow what is the best for the community.
Wow, okay, thank you. We're gonna conclude, so good, thank you for coming and answering and being on the hot seat. Thank you. Certainly, will you guys stay around just for a minute if anyone has anything they want to talk to you about? All right, and then on Monday, we're doing the same thing, same place, same time, right here with another 5 candidates. It will also be Zoomed, same Zoom link if you are gonna do that.
It'll work better.
And it'll work better. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our candidates. Thank you for the audience. While Marlis wants to give you an update on the New Year's Eve party.
Yeah.
All right.
I just want to say thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay awake.
Even better, yeah. Okay,
Marlis, do you want this?
no, I'll use my normal voice. You know I'm shy and retiring, don't you? Okay, the last social interest group, November, I was told, you did such a great job on the Halloween party, guess what? You get New Year's Eve too. Okay, update is, there's a sign-up sheet over there that says, we might come. And people are asking me, why do you say might? I used to have to sell 500 tickets for a Torsk dinner. And those little old Norwegians did not like to make plans because we also got answers like, we need to know by Tuesday. Well, you know, something better might come up or I might die. Yeah, you learn to live with that. We had scheduled it for 8 o'clock at the last all-members meeting. Some people said that was pushing it, so we've moved it to starting at 7. We have the sign-in sheet over there. It's just the mic, so we can have an estimate of how much supplies we need to buy. We've decided, okay, that was a thank you for that. We decided to do potluck hors d'oeuvres because, appetizers, because they're fantastic. They're really good. I'm going to be putting a sheet out like next week with a generic list of different types of appetizers. You can sign up your name, you can change your mind, but we'd like to have a variety. I'd also like to see a ton of extras because at the end of the party, New Year's Eve, we'll put it in the refrigerator and bring it out for the bowl game halftime. And if you have Muscos in your refrigerator, you can bring them too. Okay, I'm asking that, I will also have a sheet up asking for people to take a half-hour shift to, monitor the food table, to make sure that it's not super messy, crummy, and if an appetizer is gone, we have another one to fill its place. So you have to keep coming up there and talk to people and greet people. Okay, talking about cleanup, well, it'll be a light cleanup at the end of the party. We'll have our snack at halftime and we'll clean up better after that. Because I don't really want to stay late and clean up, thank you. Okay, I told you we had a donated karaoke machine and I was wondering, well, where are we gonna get discs? Well, I came in one day, pulled it out of the cupboard, took it out, there were discs in there. I don't know if it works, but we may do karaoke and it will not be individuals. It will be a sing-along with Mitch type thing. And Mitch is the person running the karaoke machine, if it works. If it doesn't work, we don't sing. And another one is we're going to have a photo booth back in the corner. Royce has volunteered to take pictures. He'll figure out what we're doing with it because he's adequately trained to do all this kind of stuff, so.
Just say Photoshop.
Photos, well, he gets to decide how we distribute them. So anyhow, next week you can look out for what you might want to bring. Like I said, it's not written in stone, you can change your mind, just so we get, a good distribution of what we're bringing. And everybody says, well, I'd like to make this and that, and I'm going, mine's coming from Sam's, it's the mini quiches, so you can bring whatever you want. So sign up, it'll be out next week, and we'll hopefully have another fun party, because we seem to have a good time together.
Thanks, Marla.
So Matt, what switch did you throw?
We were wires.